Greetings wrestling fans and welcome back to another brand new video. In this episode I'm going to be talking about the Royal Rumble and I'll be giving you guys my perspective on the Royal Rumble that is coming up in about 2 short days. Now, as we all know, the Royal Rumble is always the most exciting time as a wrestling fan. You know, a lot of wrestling fans get excited for the Royal Rumble match. And yeah, the Royal Rumble matches are exciting. They're fun and they're a joy to watch. However, there is a strong part of me that sometimes thinks these Royal Rumbles become very, very predictable, that it's very difficult to enjoy them. Now again, I still enjoy the Royal Rumble matches despite, I still enjoy them despite the predictability that sometimes they produce. But I will be honest with you, and I do sometimes feel the Royal Rumble matches can feel very predictable when you watch them back, because this is going to be the 3rd Royal Rumble under Triple H. My brother told me this is going to be the first time Triple H will be handling the Royal Rumble, and I should have told him no, this will be his 3rd, because he's been in control of WWE since 2022. Triple H has had control of WWE since SummerSlam in 2022. Because remember, that's when the whole Vince allegation started, and Triple H took over and handled business during SummerSlam in 2022. So Triple H has technically been in charge for 3 years at this point. So when I look at the 2023-2024 Royal Rumbles, which are the only 2 that Triple H has handled, both men Royal Rumble winners have been Cody Rhodes. And the women's Royal Rumble winners have been Triple H favorites, I guess you could say, like Rhea Ripley and Bayley. So, again, I felt like Bayley winning last year was very, very predictable. I fully expected Bayley to win that Rumble last year. I fully expected Punk to win the Royal Rumble last year, but it ended up being Cody. But again, I only thought that because Punk just came back. And we also didn't know he got injured at the time. The 2023 Royal Rumble, I think we all knew Cody was winning that one, because he just came back from his torn pectoral muscle at that time period. And when it comes to the women's, I don't know. It's kind of difficult with Rhea. Like, did people expect Rhea to win, or, well, I think people were more leaning towards Liv. But again, I wouldn't have been mad if Liv won either. I wouldn't have been mad if Liv won either, but of course, I'm happy with Rhea. But again, I think Liv Morgan would have been a fine choice if she did win that Royal Rumble, and I wouldn't have been mad if she did. I might have initially gotten upset, but I would have gotten over it. But the point I'm making is that Triple H has only handled 2 Royal Rumbles. This will be his 3rd. And I have to say, I'm not entirely impressed with how Triple H has been handling the Royal Rumble matches themselves. When he's been taking over them, I feel like the winners are very predictable sometimes. I'm kind of, like, I know he's not going to pull, like a frickin', who would you say? I know he's not going to pull, like, a Michin to win the Royal Rumble. I'm not saying pull a Michin, have, like, someone like Michin or Ivy Nile to win the Royal Rumble. I more mean, like, it feels like these Royal Rumble matches are losing what they're supposed to be. I feel like they're supposed to help elevate new stars. Like, look how it elevated, Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley in their respective Royal Rumble matches. Like, I feel like the Royal Rumbles should really be there to help younger stars get elevated. But again, people like to say, oh, the bigger the star power in these Rumble matches, it means the Royal Rumble matches become super unpredictable. Oh, you got so many big names in there. You have no idea who's going to win these Royal Rumble matches because you may have Charlotte, you may have Becky Lynch who's potentially coming back. You got Nikki Bella who's potentially coming back. You got Alexa Bliss who's potentially coming back. You got Carmella who's potentially coming back. You got Nia Jax. You got Io Sky in there. You got Bayley. You got Asuka, who could potentially be coming back. Like, you got a lot of big you got Bianca, you got Naomi, you got a lot of big names in there. So, and on the men's side, you got Punk, you got Cena, you got Orton, who's potentially coming back. You got Roman, Seth, Drew. You know what I mean? Like, people will look at the star power in the match, and they will say, yeah, this Royal Rumble is very unpredictable. You have no idea who's going to win. Where I'm like, hold on a minute. The 2025 Royal Rumble could easily be the most predictable Royal Rumble of all time. Now, keyword here, I said, could be. I don't want you guys to twist my words. I said, could be. Now, the reason why I said, could be, is because I do not want you guys to think I'm spinning the narrative here to say this could be the worst Royal Rumble of all time because of the winners alone. While I appreciate that Triple H has given, except for the men's Royal Rumble, which will be different this year because Cody's the champion, while I do appreciate he's given other people the Royal Rumble match, like Rhea, for example, and yeah, Bayley, but I don't think Bayley really needed the Royal Rumble to get to Io. But for the sake of their story last year, I understand because now that means 3 of the 4 horsewomen have all won the Royal Rumble match, except for that one horsewoman who went by the name of Sasha, who in my opinion should have won the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble match. Instead, they gave it to someone named Ronda. So technically, all 4 horsewomen would have technically had a Royal Rumble win by that point, if that in fact happened. But that's besides the point. I do appreciate he does give other people chances, but the problem is, when I watch Triple H, I see a guy, I feel like he's still no different than Vince, because he will still push the same people. Yes, he's pushing people like Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green. While I'm not the biggest fan of them, while I'm not the biggest fan of these people, at least he is, quote-unquote, giving new people a chance. Even if I feel like they don't deserve it. Especially in Tiffany's case, because she just got called up last year. And you literally had her become champion so early in her main roster run. Which could very well hurt her in the future, because when she doesn't get title runs going forward in the next 5 years, people are going to complain. So, I look at this year's Royal Rumble match, and when I look at the lineup, sure, the lineup star-studded. Sure, big names across the board. It feels like anyone could potentially win. However, I don't want to be that guy, but I genuinely feel the 2025 Royal Rumbles could be the most predictable. Despite the star power in the match. Despite the star power that is in the match. Despite the amount of big names that make you think, oh, anybody could win. There are 2 names I am already suspecting to win their respective Royal Rumble matches, and if they don't win, I'll be more than happy to admit I was wrong. Because last year I fully expected Punk to win, because he just came back, and I was just like, oh yeah, Punk's gonna win because he's just come back, and yada yada yada. But at the time, we didn't know he got injured, and then they had Cody Rhodes win. So hey, I am more man enough to say, hey, I fully expected Punk to win, but he didn't. Even though I flat out knew Bayley was going to win the women's. Because it was very, very predictable because of her storyline with Io Sky at the time. At least I felt it was predictable. You guys might feel indifferent with that Royal Rumble. But I look at the women's Royal Rumble match, and here's the thing. All the people that are currently named in that match are not the odds-on favourites to win. The odds-on favourites to win the Royal Rumble are two people that are most likely that are going to be coming back at the Royal Rumble. One being Charlotte Flair, you know, the picture behind me, and Becky Lynch. They are the two people that are the odds-on favourites to win the 2025 Royal Rumble match. They're the two people that are fully expecting to win the Royal Rumble match. Now, Becky Lynch hasn't won a Royal Rumble yet under Triple H. She's been in two of them, the 2023 and 2024, and she didn't win those. So some of you may be thinking, well, why are you concerned that Becky Lynch could win? Triple H hasn't had her win a Royal Rumble yet, so why would you be concerned she could potentially win it? Because it makes sense for Becky to come back and win it. It makes sense for Becky to win it, since she can get another shot at Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 41, and then Becky Lynch beats Rhea. And the other reason for Charlotte Flair is because of two things. I'm more leaning towards Charlotte Flair winning the Royal Rumble this year because of two big key factors. Two big major reports I saw. Report number one, Charlotte Flair versus Tiffany Stratton has been planned for WrestleMania. Number two, another report I found stated that Charlotte Flair is expected to get a championship reign upon her return to the company. These two things alone scream to me Charlotte Flair wins the Royal Rumble match. And though I love Charlotte Flair, though I am a Charlotte fan and I've always had her back, but even then, I've always criticized WWE whenever they have her win something I don't think she should win. And even I will flat out tell you Charlotte should not win the Royal Rumble, but I just know for a fact she will be. Because of these two reports alone. Now you guys could say, but Patrick, they could not have Charlotte Flair win the Royal Rumble. What if they have Charlotte Flair win the Elimination Chamber to get that match with Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania? They could have Charlotte Flair win the Elimination Chamber. She hasn't been in an Elimination Chamber yet. They could have her win that to get to Tiffy. But then that means Becky Lynch wins the Women's Royal Rumble, right? Then that means Becky wins the Royal Rumble. There is nobody on the current main roster. Well, there are, but... Well, there's Liv Morgan and Io Sky. They're the two people I can think of off the top of my head on the main card that deserve to win the Royal Rumble match, but this is why I'm saying the people that are on their way back from the company, like Charlotte, like Becky, and even Alexa Bliss, for example, could all potentially win because these are people that have just come back. And the big problem is, if you're trying to tell me that the people that are just on their way back from the company are more likely to win the match than the people that are currently around that have been working hard to win the Royal Rumble match, is a big issue. I consider this a big major issue. If you're going to say someone who's been injured for a year like Charlotte Flair, or someone who's been absent for 2 years like Alexa Bliss, deserve to win the Royal Rumble more than people that have been busting their ass off for about 2-3 years, then you're no better than Vince. This is the same kind of shit that Vince has done. Remember when Batista came back 2014 and then Batista magically wins the Royal Rumble upon his return. He wins it upon his return. John Cena in 2008, he came back from an injury and then he won the Royal Rumble. There have been so many occasions where WWE just have people, or even in Alberto Del Rio's case, he recently debuts and then he wins the Royal Rumble immediately upon his debut, like maybe in a couple of months after his debut. But I guess maybe Del Rio's a bit different than other people, but Edge in 2010 came back from an injury, won the Royal Rumble match. I'm pretty sure you may get my point. Like WWE have always made it very predictable and very obvious that whenever someone comes back from an injury, like I mentioned with Cody Rhodes in 2023, it becomes super obvious and super predictable that these people win the Royal Rumble match. And this is my biggest problem. Like, if you want to make these Royal Rumble matches feel unpredictable, then maybe don't pull out reports about, oh, there's going to be a potential match we're planning at WrestleMania. Oh, the person that's on their way back, we're planning on giving this person a title run. Like, if you're just flat out telling your audience we're doing Charlotte and Tiffany at WrestleMania, and oh, be ready for a Charlotte Flair title run, it makes me scream the words, Charlotte Flair wins the 2025 Women's Royal Rumble match. That's not exciting. That's predictable. That's not exciting. That's predictable. And that is what kills the excitement about a Royal Rumble match. Flat out knowing who's gonna win. Even if you want to say, oh, it's very unpredictable this year because there's so much star power. I fully disagree. Even if you have a lot of star power in there, you can still find a way to make it predictable. You can still find a way to make it predictable. Now let's jump over to the Men's Royal Rumble this year. We got Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, John Cena, potentially returning Randy Orton. We got Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, I might have already said his name. AJ Styles is rumored to be coming back. Great. I miss AJ Styles. And several more. There are and Roman Reigns and several other big names that could potentially be in the Men's Royal Rumble match. And though that's a lot of big names, my biggest problem is the John Cena retirement tour. While I'm excited for the John Cena retirement tour, and the reason why I find this as a problem, for those wondering, and again, don't twist my words here, I only find this as a problem is because of the fact they had John Cena come out and say he hasn't won a match since 2018 or whichever, and he doesn't believe in the facts that maybe he will win the 17th World Championship. And now that he's saying he's going to enter the Royal Rumble match. And now, there was all this talk about Cody versus The Rock at WrestleMania, which may now not happen because The Rock's doing movie commitments or something. Or there was potential for Cody Rhodes to wrestle somebody else. But The Rock was the main one that was going to happen. And also The Rock and Roman were potentially going to have a match, but it feels like that's not going to happen now. So now it sounds like they're leaning towards John Cena versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. While I know some people may think that is super exciting, but in my opinion, John Cena does not need to win the Royal Rumble to get to that, and I think that's the biggest problem. To me, it worries me that John Cena could just win the Royal Rumble match just because of the fact this is his retirement tour. And they're going to be like, okay, in his retirement tour, we're going to have him win the Royal Rumble and then become WWE Champion, breaking Ric Flair's record. If I'm going to be honest, I'd rather Randy Orton be the guy that ends Cody Rhodes' title reign and not John Cena. But I digress. And I think this is my biggest problem with the Royal Rumbles this year. I think they could be very, very predictable. I mean, would Roman Reigns be predictable? Seth winning be predictable? Drew winning be predictable? Not really. I mean, maybe some people might expect Roman to win because, you know, this is his first one in 5 years since 2020. However, there is one other guy I feel like that should win. And I felt like he was going to win last year's, but because Because I felt he was going to win last year's, I don't think he might win this year's. That being CM Punk. I was fully expecting him to win last year's, but again, we didn't know about his injury. We didn't know he got injured. I feel like Punk is the perfect guy to win the 2025 Men's Royal Rumble as well, but again, I feel like John Cena could potentially be the Royal Rumble winner. And to me, that's what kills the Royal Rumble to me. Knowing full well who could potentially win. I think that's the biggest issue for me. Knowing full well who could potentially win. And listen, if they have the people that I telling you guys in this video that is going to win does not win, I'll be more than happy to admit I was wrong. But I genuinely feel 2025 could be the most predictable Royal Rumble winners of all time. Sure, the Royal Rumble matches themselves may be exciting. They may be exciting with surprise entrances and surprise returns and comebacks from injuries. They may be exciting for that particular reason. But I feel like when you get closer and closer and closer to the winners of the match, I think that's when your opinion will begin to change. You may be excited about the potential returns, the entry numbers, the people that are coming back. But as soon as you get closer and closer to the ending, that's when your opinion really slowly begins to change. And that's when things really begin to change. And that's how I feel. Sure, I love the Royal Rumbles. They're exciting. But when I watch these Rumbles, I want to be excited throughout all of it. I don't want to have the feeling of being all like, well, the person that I have a feeling is going to win is still in there. Like the person I'm expecting to win is still in there. And as soon as I see them get eliminated, maybe then I'll be like, oh, okay, here we go. We may have a winner that I'm not expecting. But then you got the other person who you're expecting to win. As I said, on the women's side of things, I'm fully expecting Becky Lynch or Charlotte to win the Women's Royal Rumble match. And on the men's side of things, I'm fully expecting John Cena. Like, John Cena is the guy I'm more leaning towards of this year instead of Punk. But I will say Punk is the second option to win. And that's how I feel about the Royal Rumble matches. Sometimes I feel like they can be very, very predictable. So, I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from in this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Catch you all later.